And you are listening to Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein. We are back with John Tsarpalas speaking about storytelling. When you are presenting, everybody has a story, John, don't they?
Everybody has a story. And here's something I was going to ask. Do you have a personal mission statement? Every business seems to have a mission statement. I have one personally. Mine is Bring Hope. And that helps drive my story. So there's a way to help build your story is to think about what's your mission in life? Why are you here?
And you have to find that. It takes time, and only you can do it. You can't ask somebody else to come up with it. You've got to find the thing that makes you tick, that gets you up in the morning and keeps you going every day. And for many people, it's what they do professionally. But for many people, it's just part of their life, and it keeps them going. And if you're able to present that, that's your elevator pitch. That's what you're able to present when somebody says, "What do you do?" They're not just asking you to read off your resume. They want to know, what do you do? What keeps you going? So I love that advice, and I love that information. Everybody has a story. Everybody needs to share their story, and that's what this show is all about. It's about telling your story. So one of the groups of people that frequently has to tell their story is a job seeker. When they come into an interview, the most common question that's out there is, tell me about yourself. What should the job seekers that might be listening to the show, what should they do when they're asked that question?
Well, first, they should practice before they get asked that question. They should be at home. And what I tell people is stand up and practice, and stand in front of a mirror and practice. It's different. It changes the dynamic when you do that. For some reason, when you're sitting, you don't think as in the same context. Standing up seems to put pressure on you, and it helps bring some of that pressure that you're going to feel when you're in that interview. So practice it. Think about what you want to say. And often it's about what makes you excited. What is your passion in life? If it's baseball, that's great. Tell them a little bit about that. The interviewer wants to see you're alive. They want to know why you're excited. And they also want to know how it relates to the job. And you can find some way how that ties in. So there's lots of ways to work a story, and then sit and talk with somebody about it. Practice it. Tell somebody else your story. Let them give you some feedback on it. There's all kinds of ways to approach a story. You can do just little quotes if you're just looking for somebody else's words. Is there a quote out there that you really love? Find a quote. Use that in your story. Have something like that you can give to an interviewer. And again, the interviewer will remember that. They'll remember you quoted something. They'll remember something about you in that story. They're not going to remember maybe even your name, but they'll remember the story.
So, and role play and practice. Find a family member, a spouse, a loved one that might be willing to spend 30 minutes and practice with you, so that you can see that passion, and hopefully you tell your story. Because practice, as you said, the interview prep starts way before walking in the door for the interview. You gotta practice. Practice makes perfect.
It does. It's the same thing we were doing with Congressman Kirk. We were practicing what questions was he going to get asked. What was his story? It's the same thing. What questions do you think you're going to get asked in the interview? Doesn't hurt to sit down, make a list, a guess of what they're going to ask you. You're going to find some new ones. One of the good things about multiple interviews is practice. Just think of every session as a practice for the next one.
And when you're about to walk out the door for that job interview, that's the job that you want, that's the perfect job for you, how do you make a really, really strong sort of closing impression?
Well, let me back you up just a hair. This is something I do with public speaking too. Just like athletes, when they visualize hitting a ball or doing something right in their sport, visualize what you want to project before you go in there. Think about, are you coming in and you want to be happy, joyous, loving, kind? Do you want to look intelligent? Do you want to look competent? What is it that you want to project? And think about that before you walk in the door. Sitting in the car out in front of the building, I thought about, I want to come in here and I want to project that I'm here to be of service, and I'm excited about public speaking. Those were the two things I wanted to project. People, before an interview, think about what you want to project, not necessarily verbally, but through everything else to that interviewer. When you have that kind of in the back of your mind, it'll be there operating on a subconscious tape level. Let that happen. And then go in, and it will flow.
That's great. And I think what I'm hearing from you is practice. Don't Don't play it by ear and say, I'm going to come in and it's all just going to flow. It's all just going to go naturally. You know, it is great. A lot of people have that ability to do that. But when you're sitting in the interviewing chair, often people freeze up and of course you need to have your notes and you need to be prepared, but practice, and share that passion. That story and the passion is what will sell. So John, you work with a lot of people, you work with a lot of groups. We've got just about a minute remaining. How can people find out more about your work and connect with you to possibly continue this conversation and maybe even share their story?
Well, they can find me at johnsarpalas.com, but it's not easy to spell.
You're going to need to spell that.
So let me give them a little image to remember. I'm John, John. My last name is Tsar, as in Tsar, and Palas, Palas. My name in Greek means Tsar's sword. So you're looking for JohnTsarSword.com, JohnTsarpalas.com.
John Tsarpalas, thank you so much for joining us on the air, sharing a lot of helpful advice and information. After the break, we're going to be talking with Nellie Rowland of A Safe Haven. John, I hope to have you back on the air to continue sharing this advice, which I know is helpful to everybody that's listening.
Thank you so much.
Of course, after the break, we're talking with Nellie Rowland of A Safe Haven, a fantastic organization doing great work in the Chicagoland area.